Everybody, wait a minute. Everybody, wait a minute. Well, everybody, wait a minute. everybody, wait a minute. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Hey, what's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like right here at Black Power Media. Again, I'm Jared Ball. Very happy to be your host and very happy to be back for another edition of Answering Critics. They have piled up, so I wanted to take the first real opportunity I had to address them to do so before they get too much, before it becomes too cumbersome, and to make room for future criticism. So definitely, those who are here now, of course, welcome. We appreciate you. Those who will see and hear this later, make sure that you continue to
put it in the comments.
And I know I and we will continue to address them. So peace, good people who are coming in. Franny, good to see you again. Leah, the remixers, the faithfuls, we appreciate you coming in. Good to see you again. And yeah, definitely catch up on the morning show from today and all days, and make sure you all have your bell notifications on and all that other good stuff. So yeah, so as I said, I do try to keep up with the comments that come on the channel as much as possible. It's not always, possible to catch everything, but certain criticisms do catch my eye and I think are worthy of some discussion, and I think it's always fun to address them. So let's get into it and pull them up. So from one of the previous, I think this is even the last one, Reggie says or asks, what does collective organizing look like? How does a collective push for political power, since the greatest impact politically is local? And I think I left it there. I don't think I kept, no. I don't know. That's the short answer. And again, these are questions that can really only be answered, at least honestly and to their fullest extent, in offline, off the record conversation with comrades involved in political organization. So it's important to be part of an organization, to support organization, to encourage organization, because that's where people will determine how collective organizing looks like, or what it looks like, and then how do people push for political power, how people define political power, and so on. So uh yeah, absolutely, this is a play on how I start off all my questions, and yes, I think that's a good idea. Love the hate. Yes, 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 yes. Good idea. Good idea. And yeah, I do often start my classes by asking, are there any questions, comments, concerns, queries, conundrums, catechisms, cacophony, calumny, consternation, contemplation, and so on. But yeah, wherever there's catechisms and cacophonies, we got to be around to address them. So you definitely can't organize as an individual. Got to get busy with others, and then in terms of what it looks like and how it goes, that'll all be addressed in those spaces. But definitely thank you for the question, and keep them coming. This one here, I think I can make this a little larger. Joe the Euro Squatter says, here's an except. Now I forgot what, I think it'll become clear in a second what this was a response to. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Here's an exceptional, to use the diplomatic Doc Jad word, take. Marx, Engels, and Lenin's were not white. Yeah, I can't remember which one was this, what we were talking about. Anyway, this is bourgeois distortion of words and their meanings over time. Whiteness was the institution created by the Roman Catholic Church to justify European imperialism, and is the counterpoint to the necessary for the capitalist demonization of the other, i.e. black. These terms were first conceived of in Latin, Spanish, and Portuguese, but were over time adopted to the colonial programs of other states, most notably so-called United Kingdom. This being the case, men such as these, but not these specific men, could have lived their entire lives without setting eyes on an African. He's talking about Marx. Yeah, yeah. So what reason would there be to identify as white, or what white privilege could you accuse them of having in countries whose people were 100% European? Marx and Engels were German. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, of course, was a Russian, and definitely not a white. In short, there are no white people, only people who perpetuate whiteness as if it's real. To be concluded, my message isn't some rainbow coalition shit. Distrust white people by all means as a matter of personal safety, but also remind yourselves that it's not genetic, but systemic. Like Obama signing off on death for 20,000 Somalis blown to bits by some sociopaths inside a Colorado mountain playing video games. I mean, I hear you. I think I get the point there, and I appreciate the comment and the response, and even some, much of the content. I just always think of that, that oversimplified Chris Rock joke where black people don't have time to differentiate. But you are right. Whiteness was creation. We read, again, under shout out. He's going to come up here in a few minutes, but Dr. James Turner had us reading Elizabeth Hale's work, The Creation of Whiteness, I think it was called, about how whiteness was created in this country over time and politically in response to a lot of the needs of the elite, similar to what is described in this piece here. But for now, and I admit this is, again, insufficient, but I tend to, other than, for fun discussions or thought exercises, I'm less interested in the chicken or the egg, white supremacy, or, as the font of capitalism, or vice versa. I'm less interested in that. They both exist simultaneously. Among other things, they're inextricably linked at this point. Both have to go. And I'm happy to start with a socialist economy to see what benefits that provides as a starting point, and then we can go on from there. But anyway, but definitely appreciate the comment, um, and yeah, keep them coming. And those who are here live, definitely recycle comments that you want me to see, or and I'll happily respond to them while we're here as well. Definitely, to the extent it's necessary. You know, the chat, of course, is its own entity. So, but in response to Black August politics, G. Hamandi says he tells the people that he hasn't come to speak truth. So this is a clarification of my constant paraphrasing of Ward Churchill. So I appreciated what looks like and seems to be an accurate quote of Churchill himself, because I'm always saying, you know. So anyway, as it's written here, he, meaning Churchill, tells the people that he hasn't come to speak truth to power, since power never listens. Power knows everything I'm going to say better than I do. Instead, he, meaning Ward Churchill, is speaking truth to people in the teeth of power, and that's the only truth I know. At this point, Churchill could be enjoying the love bombing he gets from the expectant audience, but instead he'd rather throw a fragmentation grenade. That sounds exactly like what I've ever experienced in listening or reading Churchill's work. So I appreciate that clarification in my attempt to remember that point, because I agree when people are always saying, I want to speak truth to power and we need to speak truth to power. I think Churchill has it right. I'm not speaking truth to power. I'm speaking because power never listens. Power knows only, in fact, power knows everything I'm going to say better than I do. Instead, I'm speaking truth to people in the teeth of power. And that's the only truth I know. I appreciate that. I like that. And thanks for the clarification, G. Hamandi. Right on, right on. All right, Viceroy Monarch, in response to the video I did in response to Tory Russell, and we've never followed up on that. Tory Russell, we were in touch a little bit, but when Tory Russell was on Talib Kweli and said and brought up my name, and I appreciate that once again, and said he disagreed with my point that Black businesses and Black capitalism cannot solve anything. And so Viceroy Monarch says here, if we don't have the money or power to free ourselves in the US, how can we organize the diaspora? You detailed how we do not have the means. Again, that's my only point in terms of these public conversations at this point. I'm only interested in, as it regards to the buying power mythology, I'm only interested in trying to dispel that myth. I'm not trying to replace it with some solution or with some all-encompassing answer as to what to do. I just know that we can't get to those answers if people are constantly caught up in mythologies about what is possible in the capitalist economy, or with business and entrepreneurialism and quote unquote buying power. So yeah, I detailed how we do not have the means. What we do from there, I don't have the answers, and I don't think I should have to have them in this instance if I'm trying to dispel a particular myth. I do again believe that we don't need money to organize. Not that it's not helpful, not that it's not unimportant entirely. I just don't think that it's not essential. It's not the barrier to organization. Uh, we just have to think in terms of how do groups, communities, nations that have a resource imbalance engage more powerful entities. And if we start from that trajectory, as opposed to thinking we can accumulate resources to reach parity with these dominant powers, then I think we'll have a better track. If you have a critique, you're supposed to have all the solutions, all the things. Yeah, I know. I mean, but I actually think that, and I know you don't mean it this way, Leah, but I at least I don't think so. But I think that that's part of the sort of the institutional defense mechanism to prevent institutional analysis to say, well, if you don't have the answer, then your criticism can't be valid. But I actually think it's like people's defense mechanisms to hearing that their dreams or myths or fantasies have been dispelled. And I get it. That's why one of my favorite books is Freud's Moses or monotheism, because his whole point in that book is what do, using Jews as an example, what do any group of people do when their myths of origins have been dispelled? In this case, Jews realizing that Moses was in fact an African and Judaism is in fact an African of African origin. He then wanted to know, well, what then psychologically happens to people when their myth of origin has been dispelled? And in many ways, the myth of buying power has become people's Black capitalist fantasy myth of origin. So they, you know, when I challenge it, it encourages similar disturbed responses, which include, well, if you don't have all the answers, then your criticism is useless. Interesting. Appreciate you, Jordan. This sort of impromptu. Would love to hear your thoughts on what Dev was saying earlier today about boosting celebrity takes on political issues. What's the difference between celebrity-centered analysis and using anecdote? I didn't want to get into it, take the time today, because it was more important that Dev be able to lay out their point of view and discussion of the documentary. But I don't agree, and I'll invite Dev back and we'll talk about this. But simply, I don't really agree. Well, on the one hand, I agree that we shouldn't give their analysis undue attention and them undue attention, but I don't agree that a critique of them, to the extent I understood what Dev was saying, I don't agree that a critique of celebrity is feeding into the celebrity or giving it undue, or giving them undue justification. They're already there. They are celebrities. So by definition, de facto, they are popular. They are well known. And if we're engaging people outside of our political circles, and I'm thinking again initially, because my greatest contact with those outside of our political circles are my students. And when I engage my students, over and over and over and over and over and over again. And again, I complain about teaching 4 courses every semester for all these years, but the reality is when you do that, you get you're constantly introduced to a new group of young people that I would theoretically want one day to become revolutionaries. And inevitably, overwhelmingly, those students have to work through what these celebrities present to them to get to the point that I'm making or I'm introducing through our work. So, one of my favorite examples happened many years ago, closer to the time that this happened, but I'm in a classroom and this one student referred to Malcolm X 3 times in one 50-minute session. She initially referred to Malcolm X as Denzel and had to catch herself because she only knew Malcolm through the movie. And so I'm not giving Denzel undue promotion by using him as a point of departure for critique of that film. I'm responding to what already exists, and I think as political necessity. I don't want to hear what Pitbull has to say. I don't want to listen to Gloria Estefan. I don't want to listen to what Denzel or anyone else has to say politically, for that matter, in most cases. But we have to, because the people that we want to organize, or the people that I'm teaching, again, are starting from that point. So, in fact, many students that I would have in my classroom would have only heard of a reference to Cuba through some sort of silly reference by a Dan Lebertard on ESPN, or Gloria Estefan from wherever she was recently, and Pitbull, who I had to literally have my daughters turn off the TV when he came on during something. He came on and I was like, he got to go. He cannot, I'm just not having it in my little space. And I know the limitations, but I'm like, in my little space, there will be no entertaining of these fools. And then we had a brief conversation about why, and I reminded them again that Cuba, off the break, In this house, off the break, Cuba is to be defended and appreciated. After that, we can engage in all the necessary criticism that Dev and others were bringing up today and that we have to be engaged in. I saw myself when I was there. All of that's legit. After that initial, no, nope. And it's not going to be, it's straight up. When Dan Lebatard said, I have not, I used to watch him on ESPN. I don't watch ESPN anymore, but I won't listen to him specifically after he said, Castro is to Cubans what Hitler was to Germany, what Hitler was to Jews, is what he said. That's not happening. That's not happening. So I got to address Dan Lebatard to the extent I can. And I did actually, because I know people who know him. So I actually told them, what's up with your boy? What's up with your boy? Your boy's a mess. So anyway, yeah. So that's my thinking on it. And I hope that gets to, Dev is here. Good. Dev, if you want to jump on the, if you want to jump in, we can finish. If you want to join I can put the link in the thing. I'd suggest the only way to break that cycle, students having celebrity centered analysis, is to lean further in the opposite direction, making a celebrity centered analysis lab. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I think I'm trying to do. I'm saying so to them, I'm saying you're starting with a pit bull analysis. I'm here to negate that. He's ridiculous. So I address it in just this way. I say, this is my analysis. It's not an opinion. This is a conclusion I've reached via an analysis and study and experience. So it's different from an opinion, but it is my biased conclusion. He and people like him are idiots, politically empty fools who don't know what they're talking about. And then we proceed. Anyway, I don't know. But daring come to the analysis, critique of being aligning. Maybe. And again, Dev, if you have time, you can jump in, or we can do this later. You can always come back. It's not, it's always, it's all good, or anyone else for that matter. In fact, we can do that now. Does anybody else? I mean, I'll just drop the link in the chat, and anybody, is welcome to join me here for a few minutes if they like. But anyway, that's at least my thinking on it. And I'm not, so if there's incorrectness in my conclusions, at least everybody's, I hope, clear where I'm coming from. People definitely need a class analysis. In fact, I often will start in that. I'll say, why are these, I don't know Pitbull's background necessarily, but why are many of these Miami Cubans happen to be the rich descendants or families that Castro and the revolution put out? Right on. What's up, Dev? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I had to mute you on the other tab. I'm at work right now, so I only got like 2 minutes.
No, I got you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify. So I'm not disagreeing with you that massive amounts of people use celebrity and celebrities as their entry point to, even, like you said, even knowing about Cuba at all, or the Malcolm X example. They don't even know Malcolm X beyond the movie a lot of times, right? What I'm saying is we have to divert as much attention as possible from celebrity being the framework through which we enter into these conversations. So just to take it away from Cuba and give a different example, the Me Too movement, that was a bourgeois, celebrity-centered movement. And the analysis through which millions of people entered into discussing gendered violence, sexual assault, and all of those topics was through extremely rich individuals, despite the reality that globally working class women face the brunt of gendered violence, right? So I'm saying we have to disrupt that pattern of waiting until you can project something onto a celebrity to discuss something. So instead of responding to a Pitbull or Jeff Bezos or Gloria Estefan, I feel as though there's a way that we can actually make them irrelevant and obscure to the point where people attempting to use them as tools to discuss these things can be made into clowns, into jokes. If that makes, I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly, but that's the premise.
No, I think I get it, and I feel like I don't feel like that's too different from what I'm saying or what I think I'm at least trying to do when I'm thinking about the students. But so for instance, if I were teaching a course on Cuba, I wouldn't start with let's watch Pitbull's stupidness.
I hope not.
So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if I'm not teaching a class on Cuba, which is usually the case because I don't, and I mention Cuba or its relationship in support of Black liberation or something to that effect, or their arguments around propaganda and defending their own population, et cetera, and so forth, my students will invariably respond with something akin to, oh, I know of this through Pitbull, Gloria Estefan, and Dan Le Batard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying now. So from that point is what I'm saying. Now I aggressively go at that. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying I would start with them. I'm saying I invariably feel like I have to end up going through them to get to the students. So
Yeah.
that's all I mean.
Yeah, no, and I completely, I think we're agreeing. We agree. I think there's this magnet effect that takes place where a celebrity is like a magnet and they say or do something, and then suddenly all of the radical energy and potential around a certain topic gets drawn to them. And we have to be like a magnet on the other side trying to pull people, like, you know, the masses of people didn't have to wait until Jay-Z said some dumb shit for us to suddenly start talking publicly about capitalism and Black capitalists. And many of us have already been talking about that. But the last thing I'll say is if you flip it and put it on the other end and you think of how Cubans are coming to know Black American history and politics, they don't look to Nicki Minaj or Jay-Z. They don't look to Black celebrities to get their analysis on Black Americans and Black people in the US. You know what I mean? Like their entry point to politics anywhere is not celebrity. In their own country, there's no celebrity. There's celebrities, but there's no industry around celebrities. So why is it that we in the US, that has to be our constant entry point into these conversations? Because to me, celebrity is just synonymous with capitalism, basically.
But the big difference is they're post-revolution and we're pre-revolution.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a cop-out because, you know, everyone in the Cuban streets know who Rihanna is, who Beyonce, who Nicki Minaj is. They literally could not give two flying fucks what they have to say about any kind of political thing ever. And they're able to divorce the role of someone like a celebrity from someone who discusses politics. So my point is, I think often by using these people to have these conversations, we're just lending ourselves to that magnet effect where, you know, we could keep our regular programming and keep talking about Fred Hampton and Walter Rodney and Assata Shakur and Nkrumah without ever even having to reference or mention the other people one time. And to me, that's more important. Like, even if a student brings up Snowfall and how Snowfall covers Cuba, you know, it's a horrible show the way they portray Cuba, but you can literally take that and divert that attention and completely be like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but we're going to talk about the actual real history. So that's where I'm coming from. But
no doubt.
And you're in a position as a professor too that I can't, you know, relate to. You have your own sort of inside the classroom. It's like its own struggle as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Anyway, no, I appreciate you. And anytime, you know, you're always welcome on here to do whatever. So thank you very much for popping on. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Right on. And if anybody else wants to and doesn't see the link, let me know and I'll put the link back in there. But I appreciate Dev doing that. there was something, I think somebody said something about me being on Dev's groundings. That has happened before. Yeah, Big Teal, I'm waiting to do, then you'll talk to me. No, I've been on, I've been on groundings. So shout out to Dev again for that. You know, I don't know, does that get me the pass? Does that get me in the VIP? All right. Anyway, obviously this is a topic that'll continue to come up. So we'll continue to you know, go at these. This was the one I mentioned the other day from Christmas Davis. Do you ever stay on subject for more than 12 seconds? Do you ever listen to your shows? All you do is babble, bro. Neoconservative, neo-colonialism, neo-black patriarchy. It's annoying. I just wanted to come back to this and I don't know why. I just I don't agree with much of it other than the bouncing from one subject to another. That's legit. Again, when I do the show, my regular show by myself, or even when I'm working with Geechee or Diallo or someone else. I mean, I have notes, I have an outline, but I admit that it's an issue that I think is legit. So first of all, I wanted to say this. I'm suspicious, given this and another one of Christmas's comments from some, I can't remember where it was, that this is not like constructive criticism or like a genuine attempt to engage and improve me or my work. So some of this is difficult from my point of view because, you know, I would it's harder to respond you know, meaningfully when I don't believe it's genuine criticism or from a good place. But that said, Christmas does have a point. So I would want to just say that I acknowledge that, you know, I tend to, in my work, in my approach to work, having read years ago, I remember reading Vernon had a line where he said that he was consciously interdisciplinary. And he said the line was that he concluded the line by saying that he leaves discipline to the botanists. And his point was, as I understood it, was when you're engaged as an academic in what is for you clear political struggle, there's no time for established institutional divisions of disciplines, and you have to draw from disparate places to develop your analysis. And I do that. And that is the way I think. And I do also struggle to then put that back together in a clear, certainly in a clear linear delivery. I do struggle with that. So sometimes my work, even my written work, why it takes so long and doesn't come out often the way I want it to, is because I do struggle getting my thoughts organized. And you know, and when it comes to these shows, admittedly, this is not my primary job. So some of it is admittedly rushed. You know, I think a lot of my work is admittedly a little rushed and could use some time and some editing. I don't have a production crew. Shout out to Josh and Aaliyah who help with some of the background stuff with guests and all that. But I don't have a production crew. I don't have somebody in my ear keeping me in line. And that is something that if I'm being compared to certainly people in the professional world, they do have that. And that is a huge help. The few times I've had that experience, when you have someone in your ear pitching you the next question, the next line, the next card, all that other stuff, it's very helpful, makes you stay, you know, and saying, you know, wrap it up and all that kind of stuff. It is helpful. So so anyway, but the neoconservatism, neocolonialism, black patriarchy, I would struggle to accept those critiques and would want some specificity. But the rest of it, I hope, you know, I've addressed it. Okay. All right, right on. Big Teal is in the building and wants to join. Big Teal, you are on audio only because of the way StreamYard works. If you don't have your camera on, I can't put you on the wait, no, that's not true. Hold on one second. That's not true. Hold on one second. So I can give you the audio avatar. Hold on. I'm supposed to be able to do that. Hold on one second. Hold on one guests. No, audio, no. General audio avatar. There you go. All right, go ahead, Big Teal. Welcome.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it clear?
It is very clear.
Okay, good, because I have problems getting on call-in with my laptop, so this is... Okay, well, hi, Dr. Ball. Nice to finally talk to you.
Right on. Likewise.
Yeah, I guess my point that, or why I jumped on was like kind of, I talked about a few weeks ago regarding cryptoganda, and the point that stood out to me that I keep talking about because I think it's so useful is this idea of like rebranding. And for a few reasons, like for example, I guess I keep thinking about capitalism in like a longer duration of time, like thinking about like, you know, like 16th century kind of looting of Africa, well, of Africa and the Americas, and how each century it how do you say it materially continues on, but there's also this ideological component that it maintains itself structurally and politically. And so when you say rebranding, like the way that they, how do you say, they reimagine what capitalism can be or how it can be helpful or useful to people, even though it produces contradictions. So when you say rebranding, it thinks about, like, it makes me think about how capitalism makes itself even relevant despite worsening material conditions, because capitalism has always created unequal outcomes of living standards and die, right? And so how does a system like that still continue on and get people to even adhere to it? And so they have to be convinced that what they're seeing is not real, but it's ending, right? So it makes me think like maybe capitalism is also a brand, you could say, like it's a selling to the people. And I think like maybe that will be helpful in understanding the myth of buying power, because you always have to convince people to consume, right? If capitalism didn't need that, why, or people did that naturally, why would there be this big like push to convince people to market spending, to make people feel they have to spend, they need you to spend? And so, but it's not a big analysis, but I hope you continue on with the rebranding point as far as like how it changes up what it does under new guises with new faces and new, I guess, things to buy, consume. But yeah, that's all for now. I'm
No,
just
I
wondering if
appreciate
this
that.
works.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And jump on anytime. Um, good point. The so it's kind of like what it reminds me of a point I was trying to make at the event last night when there was some disagreement, and I was saying that this isn't, I appreciate you, sort of giving me credit for it, but it's not me saying per se that there's a need for rebranding of all these ideas to mask what capitalism is doing. If there's one benefit to all this debt in getting the PhD in communication, is that I got time to sit and read what the framers of this media environment said themselves was their goal, and what propagandists working for corporations, working for state and empire said themselves. And more or less, this is what they said. Propaganda is a euphemism for psychological warfare, is a euphemism for public relations, is a euphemism for advertising and marketing. They said all of this because they've said we have to create the need for our products. If we have the ability to mass produce a product or control the means of production, we then have to create the consumers. We have to create consumers as citizens. This is what they were doing. This is what they said. And I was just looking at the work of Chris Simpson again, and his work really breaks the details open on, for at least for me, on a lot of this. That's what all the Harold Laswells and Paul Lazarsfelds and Edward Bernays and Ivy Lees and I mean, that's what they were all saying. So and all the militarists and that's what they were saying. And then, of course, as Kwame Ture says, capitalism makes us think we are thinking when we are merely reacting to stimuli. That's part of the, just, you are thinking, and you're like, yeah, I'm deep. And next thing you know, you just, back to work. So anyway, I appreciate you jumping on. Thank you very much. And right on. All right. I was waiting for this one because I watched the movie again with my babies the other day. And I'm not here to promote, I'm not here to promote Hollywood, and I'm definitely here to be checked on my Vernon philosophy. But they got me on this one, people. So when Imhotep says prey wasn't all that, this little girl beat a being that killed a grizzly with a punch. Military pressed it over its head with relative ease, maybe with a good backstory on a particular species of Yachuas. Forgive me for mispronouncing that. Might I reappraise what I think about the movie? And as I said here, what? She didn't beat Predator by herself. And this was my favorite part about the movie. First of all, he was wounded by others and blinded by her own medicine. The grizzly fight wasn't as easy as you described. Remember, the bear gets him. The bear takes him down, knocks him down. Then he has to get himself up to slam the bear and finish the bear. But the point is, the bear wore him out. He was, by the time, I kept wanting to call her baby girl because she reminds me of aspirationally of my own daughters. I'm not trying to diminish her womanhood. But when the protagonist, by the time she kills him, she's and this is not to diminish her accomplishment, but it's to say that the movie gets this accurate. The thing has fought all those French colonists who are accurately depicted in the film, by the way. It loses an arm. It fights her brother. It fights all of his comrades, and it is blooded. And then she, realizing that she can't go to, and this is the best part for those of us who think in terms of political struggle. Work with me on this. Or as they say, walk with me a little on this. She knows I can't go toe-to-toe with this thing. But she doesn't panic. She doesn't quit. She studies. And if you watch the film, as I did again, you see very clearly, just as the predator is studying how things work here and the hierarchy of prey, she was studying the predator for what its weaknesses were, how it uses its weapons, how it attacks, how it defends, how it bleeds. So she said, I can't go toe-to-toe. So she intellectually defeats a stronger physically and technological enemy by using her environment, by using guerrilla tactics, by using the technology and the resources of a superior enemy against himself. And that's how she wins. Son. So we just definitely disagree on that one. Oh yeah, sorry, y'all. Yeah, my bad. Spoiler. Son. Oh man, definitely revisit that film. And again, to those who would say, as usually people say to me when I'm critical of this, oh, we can make use of these films. You can use this film. If there's ever a commercial film to be used, this is it. Anyway, No, see, Leah, they did this well too. I like when movies do this, and I admit some selfishness. I don't want to read, honestly, I don't want to read transcripts throughout the whole thing. What they were doing was they would often start a scene in the traditional language and then sort of fade into English to suggest they're still speaking in that tongue. We just don't hear it. So she spoke in her indigenous tongue. She then and when the translator dude, if you remember, when she's captured, the translator dude comes over. She's screaming at the French in her language, but we're seeing it in English. And when she starts speaking what we're hearing in English, it's because he's speaking in her indigenous tongue. They're doing us a favor as like, again, selfish, lazy viewers. So that's what I thought. They got that right. But anyway, I don't want to be out here defending Hollywood like that, but this film, I have to consciously go back to the Vernon philosophy. I like this movie, so I have to be very critical of how it got me, because it's not trying to encourage revolution. It's not trying to move me to some viewer to some higher stage of consciousness, but it's just very well done. And cinematography, the shooting of the film, I mean, it is beautiful. It's so obviously not in a studio with a green screen. They put in some work. They used that budget. Man, I'm not mad. They got me on that one. The colonizer did well on this one, boy, because then they depict the French accurately. Now, maybe that's a way to make the Americans look good by default, by not being depicted at all. I don't know. Maybe there's some slickness like that. They want to make Americans don't like French and all that. So maybe they want to put all the evil whiteness on the French. And, we're here for that. And it's accurate. But all right. Anyway, they just definitely didn't do what Imhotep is suggesting here by making it some unrealistic. Oh, how did this little girl defeat this thing? Like, it wasn't. They did a good job with that. They did. We got it. I think got to at least acknowledge that. All right, so in response, going back a while, Alonzo X came in more recently with something from a little bit ago on the video "You're Earning Their Leisure" and critique of Earn Your Leisure and all of that. And Alonzo, I brought up the Roots sort of disappointingly becoming what I thought they portrayed in Bamboozled. And Alonzo says the Roots played the Alabama Porch Monkeys on Bamboozled. They are also more than the house band on The Tonight Show. They are also the executive musical producers of the show. Working with NBC opened the door for their television careers. Questlove won an Oscar. Black Thought became a playwright on Broadway. They wrote for Hamilton. They're huge accomplishments. These are huge accomplishments that they likely won't have had the opportunities to achieve if not working for NBC. So this is kind of my point, going back to the discussion with Dev. I'm not bringing up the Roots. I'm not bringing up The Tonight Show. People in my classes, people in our audience, people in our communities have been conditioned, encouraged, made to see them as accomplished, as having made progress for us, as having done something important. So we then have to negate what is clearly here to negate us. Or as my godfather reminds us, the old aphorism goes, to negate the negation. So this is, I mean, if this were in my classroom, I'd say basically what I would say here. Why is it automatically assumed that writing for Hamilton is a positive? To me, that's just one more strike against a legendary hip-hop band. Questlove winning an Oscar. These are not, those kind of awards are, I think, to be questioned and criticized, not upheld as honors. What does it mean to be honored in this society that produces this kind of hostility and inequality? What does it mean then to be honored by that? What does it mean to be honored by an academy that encourages performances and films that are disturbing to the history and the consciousness of African people and other oppressed communities? That's, I mean, you know, these are not the standards that I think, you know, and again, just to the point of the event that I was at last night. Publishing an article about the Black Panther Party is not the same as being in the Black Panther Party. Is maybe a better way than that I could say what I said even this morning. Being a journalist who questions presidents is not the same as being a journalist who reports on and targets the most abused by presidents. Maybe I should put it that way. So I don't see any of what Alonzo X is saying here as a benefit to us or our ability to offer a political analysis or have it take hold among members of our community, if the roots can be seen as because they've been made executive producers or musical producers on the show or whatever, meaning that they can pick from the accessible artists that the parent companies of the TV network and the 2 or 3 record companies that exist and promote these artists find acceptable to be on there. That's what they get to do. I don't find that to be an advance, at least not for the collective, and it's not an advance for us in our analysis of how all of this works. So a group that was formerly considered to be underground, outside, even left politically, is being brought into the mainstream institutional media, corporate commercial space to work for them. And it's being projected to us, and in the case of Alonzo here, as a positive. And I think that's a problem. Sorry, the event last night was at Morgan State. We talked about it on the Remix this morning show this morning a little bit. Very quickly, I was invited to lead a post-viewing discussion among those who gathered last night at Morgan State for a viewing of 2 short documentaries, one on Frederick Douglass, one on Harriet Tubman. And during the discussion, differing definitions of revolution were brought up, and some were suggesting that Morgan State was in fact a revolutionary institution because it produced some well-known mainstream journalists, and because graduates of Morgan had done some not negative work, but just work I wouldn't necessarily call revolutionary. So we were just having this disagreement on a friendly, polite, professional, collegial disagreement on how we define revolution. Okay. All right. So I hope that makes sense to you, Alonzo, and anyone else. So want to highlight, don't always just want to focus on the negative. Want to highlight when we get positive comments. I don't want to act like I don't see them and appreciate them. So thank you, Mwilu Okolo, for saying well said. Victor Pate 24, I truly love and respect you and Efforts King. I'm always I always feel like I'm getting set up when people I get called king. It's like, I am somewhat taken aback by you don't even take care of your own commentary with regards to white poverty and the ruling oligarchs. Absolutely nothing in real history shows that the bulk of so-called white people are part of the ruling oligarchs who happen to be so-called white. The history of European slavocracy started way before the creation, or as Theodore Allen's 2-volume book, The Invention of the White Race, proclaimed, of phenotype racism. American nationalism in conjunction with phenotype racism has been the greatest social control con game in modern history. So I largely agree with what you're saying. And, but look, sometimes I'm just having a little bit of fun, so as I often request a little bit of room for nuance. Let's have a little bit of room for satire and irony. And by that, I mean the actual definition of irony. Speaking of pet peeves, I am troubled by how Alanis Morissette destroyed the definition of irony, and nobody uses that word properly anymore. But that said, it was just jokes, is ultimately what I'm saying. I was just simply making fun of classism within white America. And to your point, the obvious incongruities between different groups of European descendants and how they treat one another. So I wasn't trying to deny or I was just trying to make light of the fact that as I was driving up the eastern coast of the United States, up to Susquehanna, Pennsylvania trail or whatever, I'm just seeing all these poor white folks. And I was just like, reminded of white poverty, which I don't often see. And we are often encouraged to believe doesn't exist. And I was just pointing out, say, white folks, get your people together, But it was just trying to, again, make light of, an unfortunate situation. Will Mars, why not bring Brother Rizza Islam and Dr. Small on your platform for a serious discussion or debate on the issue? This was from the other day when we were talking about, when I was describing my disagreement with Islam and Dr. Small in their recent appearance with Boyce Watkins, with whom I disagree all the time, pretty much with everything. But again, Will, as I read this, the suggestion is that I owe Islam and Dr. Small something, and I don't. With all respect to them, I don't owe them an invitation to discuss what they've said publicly. They made a public argument. I disagree with it. I could say the reverse. They have much larger platforms. At least Islam does. How, I don't know if you've done this, but maybe you've left the comment in one of their, videos saying, why not have Dr. Ball on? He disagrees with you and is written on, at least to some extent, on the subject matter, and why not read his book? It's free, and invite him on to discuss it. I am interested, at least, if not shocked and amazed, at how many do not do that. So that's it. So that's it. I don't think I owe them that, and I don't, but that's it. That's it. And as I've said before, I know Boyce wasn't mentioned by Will here, but Boyce had been invited to be paid by someone to debate me and didn't want to do it. So even for a little bit of money. And by the way, every time Brother Jabari invites me to one of those sessions, the Soul Viva Nation in Baltimore, and offers me my little honorarium, I don't take it. I don't take it. So he has never given me a penny for the multiple, times I've showed up there at his invitation. So I would have debated Boyce for free, if he would have been willing to show up, but he's not. So my point really is, like, they are, at least to a certain extent, as it regards me and many others, they are consciously, willfully ignoring the disagreement. And they claim it's for the love, and they don't want to be debased and be seen as debased or debasing and all that other. That's nonsense. There's no need to be disrespectful to disagree. I think I've demonstrated that. I think others have demonstrated that. I think what's clear is they don't want to engage in the disagreement. So, I love this. Boyce to 5'9". That's disrespectful to Royce. Don't do that. Now, hold up now, Big Teal, let's be clear. I didn't say I don't take all honorariums. I said I don't take them from certain, particularly grassroots community groups. I don't take money from them. But I didn't say I don't take any honorariums, The truth just happens to be I don't get invited to a lot of spaces that have big honoraria to offer. But when it comes, I'm taking it if it's not, if it's institutional or something like that. But when it's black and brown and grassroots, no, why would I do that? Why would I do that? Why would anybody do that? That is anybody gainfully employed with multiple streams of household income. Why would you do that? All right, anyway. Okay. Let's get to, I think we got a couple more here. Right on. Thank you, Cynthia Rose. Excellent episode on Lerone Bennett. Great conversation where I learned a lot about the man, the legend, and the scholar. So this is one other thing that this is why. I wanted to shout out people who say something nice, and we don't always just focus on the negative. But I wanted to be reminded of this because I'm going to reach out to Dr. Todd Stephen Burroughs. In fact, right now, let me do it while we're on air, because I'm saying, Todd, I would like us to do a live stream, this review, debate, discussion of Lerone Bennett's debate with Foner. What do you think? Because my man Todd and I don't agree on who won that debate, so I think we should air it, do a live where we air it here, and Todd and I hash it out and let you all judge for yourselves who you think won, Eric Foner or Lerone Bennett. Thank you, Jab, for sharing beautiful remembrance of our dear brother in reference to Dr. James Turner. I definitely appreciate that. A couple more. Issa Mujahid. Now, Issa, is this the Issa, the same one that was a former student of mine? Because I think Issa is a former student who, correct me if I'm wrong, who has taken up a slightly different wing of the African liberation struggle and disagrees with me. And, so right on. Good for you. Outgrow your teacher or one of your former teachers. Dr. Ball, I'd like to hear more someday about how you see the role and function and strategies of capturing control of local institutions and building political power, or as a demonstration of how to wield political power. I feel like this and building our own institutions is central to strategies of organizations like Community Movement Builders, CIAFO Movement, and LBS in my own work, just based on what I learned on BPM. Sometimes when you speak about building political power, it seems vague and aspirational and undefined in a strategic, concrete goal sense. I'd love to see you have this conversation with Kalanji, Kamal, and or representatives from LBS, for organizers on the ground trying to create building blocks and models for Black self-determination. I think it would be useful to see where some of the theories around building power and grassroots strategies. Okay, I think that was it. So I agree to a certain extent, but again, I'm intentionally vague on these issues because I don't think this is the space for concrete discussions of how to go about achieving political power and how it would look. I also admit that I don't know exactly how to achieve it and how it would look. But I don't think that an honest discussion of those topics can take place publicly. So my humble suggestion would be that if you really want to know what LBS organizers think, go to their meetings. If you really want to know what CIAFO movement thinks, we have to be in their movement, in their spaces. Same with CMB, etc. There is always an overt and public discussion, and then there are parts that have to be held differently. So that's why I'm always vague, because honestly, again, I don't know, and then it's not for public consumption. So, but I'm happy to reach out to those folks, and we can see what levels of public discussion they want to have. In fact, I think as I'm talking, Dave Vaughn just texted me from LBS. So I'll check with him shortly, and maybe he's watching, maybe he has some ideas about that himself. But thank you for your comment. Is this also from Issa? I think this is also from Issa, and that's why I didn't be sure to catch I hope that's why. But This comment says, I also noticed around the 50-minute mark in your reading of the text of Dr. Turner mentioned the control and capture of local institutions. It seems like well, I'll just read what it says here. It seems like your rereading around 51st minute. You replaced institutions with resources. If this is the case, I think such an edit is unfortunate because it is less clear than the original statement. I'd add, I think sometimes the disconnect may be related to the scale of political power one is referring to. Malcolm X was a great example of someone who was trying to build political power at the grassroots and globally simultaneously. Anyway, I appreciate the info on the platform. Now, thank you for the comment. I appreciate you. So let me attempt to clarify, because I did see the comment and appreciate it, and went and brought the book back out, edited by Scott Brown, Discourse on Africana Studies, James Turner and Paradigms of Knowledge. All right. And I think what happened, I'm not sure what I did in the video. I'm not sure what I did in the video that you're talking about, but let me just clarify what I was saying. So from his essay, Blacks in the Cities, Land and Self-Determination, from James Turner, I think you're conflating two different sections of the book. So on page 273, so one, I would encourage you and everybody, get the book, read the book, and then if I misquote or misread or whatever, you will know it. You'll have the text in front of you and we can all be very clear. So, but I think you conflated, or I was conflating, two different sections. On page 273, Turner writes, any serious attempt at liberation must involve a plan to create a political cadre that will work to organize Black people in the great metropolitan areas and develop strong, independent Black political organizations, which will move our people towards capturing control over all institutions that are within the area they occupy. Involvement in domestic politics will not be directed by a belief in the liberal fallacy of social progress through political participation in electoral politics, which only lubricates the mechanism of neo-colonial design. All right. So forgive me for doing it this way. I just want to make sure, reading from over here, and I think you can get, and if not, see the whole thing right now. You should be able to get a screen grab if you don't have the book, and see just that I'm reading it and had it highlighted accurately. So in this page, he's saying Black people need political organizations that will move our people towards capturing control over all institutions that are within the area they occupy. All right. On the very next page, he concludes by saying, without control over land, resources, and production, there can be no self-determination for a people. So I think that may be where what I was talking about, because this was definitely the sections I was reading and talking about. And so he's saying Black people need to control the institutions that are in the area they occupy, and that ultimately liberation requires control over land, resources, and production. There can be no, without control over land, resources, and production, there can be no self-determination. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarifies it. And thank you very much for the question, comment. Oh, right. Issa's back, still here. At 108 on political power, you have a public platform called Black Power Media. I'm humbly asking for more conversations from different perspectives, even among you all, about what that is, how it's built, and how it's wielded. If we can't talk about that, what are we talking about? What Black power isn't? What I really appreciate about guests like Daruba and the peeps from LBS is that they're really good at discussing their strategies for building power to deliver results, and how those on the ground strategies align or not with common interpretations, theory, CRT, Afro-pessimism, Marxism, Leninism, etc. The movement could benefit from more of this type of discourse publicly. So I find this comment very interesting, because while Issa's on the one hand saying he's humbly asking for more conversations, he then cites all the conversations that have happened here and happen all the time on here. So LBS has a show every week. They pop up on other shows on the platform from time to time as guests on my show, for instance, on the Remix Morning Show. Then Issa says, we should have different conversations from different perspectives, including people among the platform. So my humble request is that you continue to watch more of the platform, because I feel like that's happening almost every day. Jackie comes on and does her discussion of Jay-Z. I had my discussion of Jay-Z. Same topic, not entirely the same, not entirely different. Kalanji had his interview and discussion with people in the hip hop community. He's had several by now, covering different political perspectives. So just in terms of hip hop, and we just had a discussion. Dev literally just popped up on this on this live to talk about our similar and slightly different perspectives on celebrity and politics. So I mean, and then at the list at the bottom, critical race theory, Afro-pessimism, Marxism, Leninism. So in other words, my show. So in other words, when you say you want more conversations, what you're really just saying is it's a confession. What did Kwame Ture said? He was quoting Bernard Shaw, I think, in saying that all criticism is autobiography. So I think, Issa, you're just offering your own self-criticism or your own autobiographical self-critique that concludes with, I need to watch more of the channel. I need to watch more BPM. Oh man. Anyway, so I appreciate the comment and I appreciate the implicit or tacit recognition that we're doing exactly what you want us to do. You just need to watch more. Anyway, now I appreciate you. Oh, Will Mars is back again. This dude don't know what he's talking about. Hip hop was hip hop, regardless of it was conscious or gangster. Underground hip hop wasn't about lyrical subject matter. It was about sound, the beats. Go back and listen to Mr. Magic, Stretch Armstrong, and Babito, the Underground Railroad, etc. Those were legendary underground hip hop radio shows in New York City, and the subject matter ranged from street to gangster and back. Let me make sure you can all see the full comment. Street to gangster and back. Or maybe you can't. Does it work if I do this? Yeah, there you go. So Will, first of all, to say that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to hip hop is absurd. That's just plain. So what likely has occurred here is that you weren't paying attention to the nuance of my argument, which is often the case when people claim that I don't know what I'm talking about. What they usually are revealing when they say that is they're not paying attention, they're not able to keep up, or they themselves don't know enough to follow the argument. So I wasn't saying that what made hip hop, what constitutes underground hip hop is lyrical political content. That's not what I've never even said that. What I've said was, in fact, I've even in my own work, oh, I know how this sounds, but I can't help it, which clearly you haven't read. But even in my own work, I cite Max Roach's comment that he knew white folks wanted to suppress hip hop because they heard the revolution in the drums. Which is why, if you paid attention to this platform and even my discussions of go-go music, I said that was the number one reason why they want to get rid of go-go. It's not because of go-go spreading violence. It's because of that drum. It's that percussion that terrifies gentrifiers and the bourgeoisie. So I've been clear on that. You're just not paying attention, or you saw just one video and missed the nuance and then came back with some dumbness that I don't know what I'm talking about. And to refer me as this dude is also disrespectful, by the way, Will. All right. So all of that in that comment is wrong as it regards me. Now, what I was also saying was that you don't account for in this comment is that what constitutes or what allows for the mainstreaming of the art requires an absence of radical political content. So I never said that you couldn't be underground and not be, because everybody talks today about Griselda, underground, and you listen to their content, there's no rap revolution in there. It's underground, boom bap, East Coast, traditional, old school, good hip hop. But if they were to go mainstream, they would have to maintain that politic. In other words, what assures you marginalization is a radical political content. So that was the point I was making. I wasn't saying you can't be underground and be apolitical. I'm saying you can't be overground and political. So, but I suppose on some level, I still appreciate your comment and you checking out part of probably one video. All right, a couple more and then we can wrap up. I've gone a little longer than I thought. The new millennium. Okay, cute. Dr. Ball seems really obsessed with ignoring the context of Tookie's life. Uh-oh. Trial and execution and focusing on his interpretation of one statement by a governor. Dr. Ball doesn't seem to understand the state of California didn't just grab Tookie off the streets the moment Schwarzenegger issued the statement. The state of California didn't execute Tookie because of Schwarzenegger's letter. Dr. Ball really has the academics' view of the discussion as some metaphysical great battle of ideas. The state of California was never threatened by Tookie's reading list, but they nevertheless could use it as a reason not to grant clemency like any other excuse. Wow. Again, what's up with nuance? What's so, Lonnie, if I may, I am not. What's the best? How can I best do this without? So it's not that I just have some metaphysical, silly view of an academic. It's that I have the studied view of just anyone who has spent a good portion of his adult life reading the work of those who have set up this political, media, and economic apparatus. And they have been very clear that ideas do terrify them, that in fact, ideas are their primary concern because action derives from ideas. So if anything, it's not that I have some silly metaphysical view of an academic, it's that you have an insufficient understanding of how power and ideas work. So it's not simply that I said it's not. So it's not. I didn't, of course, ignore what got Tookie locked up. I am simply focused on what Schwarzenegger said was his reasoning for denying Tookie's clemency and signing the death warrant and sending him off to his afterlife. It's not an overemphasis on one letter. It is an emphasis on the statement offered as why Tookie was going to be killed. And again, they didn't say, you got to read the letter. I read, I think, most of it the other day. Schwarzenegger wasn't saying I'm killing Tookie because of what he did and what got him locked up. He said, I'm killing him because he supports George Jackson and Assata Shakur. Because if Tookie had been seen as redeemed, he would have not been executed. In other words, it was possible for the state to come to the conclusion that they were not going to kill him because they forgive people who terrorize Black communities all the time. The state has no problem forgiving people after extracting a huge amount of punishment and resources and exploitation from. They have no problem forgiving someone who has terrorized Black people. In fact, they might reward them at some point. In fact, studies show that it's the race of the victim that determines the penalty of the assailant as more than the race of the assailant in determining death penalty. So in other words, killing Black people is less likely to result in Black people being punished by death than had they assaulted white folks. But Tookie could have been redeemed. The state said so. Tookie could have been saved from a death sentence. The state said so. Again, I think they did us a favor that we discount with criticism like this by saying we should ignore that and only focus on the state being somehow legitimate in killing him because of his crimes. Are we now saying, so we're pro-death penalty? Fine. So we're saying it's legitimate to kill somebody for those crimes? If that's, you know, but we're doing a disservice to, I think, the broader analysis by discounting the favor Schwarzenegger did by exposing the fact that evidence of his unredeemability or his irredeemability or his lack of redemption was praising these revolutionary heroes. So again, I didn't say Tookie got snatched up for being radical. I said he got killed for being seen as being too radical. So again, I know we struggle with nuance around these parts. I know that's an issue. I know these YouTube streets, you know, that's not where nuance goes to live and thrive, but you know, I'm gonna keep advocating it. I'm gonna keep pushing for it. All right, couple more. I think I just got a couple more. I thought I was done, but I got okay. That's why I didn't want to let him pile up. He'd be here all day. Peace, Dr. Ball. First off, I deeply appreciate and love all the content and discourse on BPM. Good start. Ish Kepri, good start. I'm learning so much and it drives me to do my own research to further my understanding of the myriad of topics. I have a question that you can perhaps answer on your next Q&A segment. My question is, I've heard you mention more than once how Blacks and Jews should not be compared as often as I hear. I believe I know why, but I'd love to hear your perspective on why it's a false comparison. Thank you for your work. I appreciate the comment and question, Ish Kepri, and I'm happy to endeavor a relatively short response. And then I do just have one more easy one to get to after this. So cool. We can move to closing up here. And I thank you all who are joining me here for this one and who are seeing this later. I appreciate you. And in fact, you know what? Before I answer this question about why Black communities and Jews should not be compared, one quick thing first.
Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh man, let me get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh no. Shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh my goodness, I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh my goodness, what's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Tree. I'm taking all three of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh my goodness, behind the back. Layup. Oh, did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't gotta look, it's falling. Oh my goodness, this guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.
All right. And definitely support, put the link in the show description, our ongoing fall fundraiser here at BPM. Please do whatever you can, share the link, invite others to do what you can. And understandably, if you can't, give any more money, please just like, share, subscribe, invite people to watch the content, support the content, and that will help the channel as well. Thank you very much. And I hope the helicopter flying around out there is not making too much noise. And I hope it's not a surveillance copter. And I also hope it's not somebody being rushed to Hopkins Medical in some emergency. Anyway, all right. So I think there are a number of reasons why, and I've obviously my own background has caused me, I think, to think a lot about this over the years, but and to even put some effort in studying what the historical differences and similarities have actually been, as opposed to what are often reported mythologically about this unity between blacks and Jews. So while I don't go so far as the secret life or secret relationship between blacks and Jews by the nation, I don't go so far as their conclusions, but I do agree that the mythology around the relationship is a problem. Institutionally, Jews have not been an ally to black people as an institution. They have not been. We could debate about whether percentage or ratio of population has had more Jews in support of black liberation than not, but institutionally, they certainly have not been. So let's start there. The other thing is, of course, black people are not Jews. So to say that black people should be able to do what Jews have done is sort of on its face a non-starter, should be seen as a non-starter. Black people are not Jews. Black people have a very specific history and relationship to the economy of this country, both the financial economy, the libidinal economy, the colonial economy, the establishment of colonial relations is very different. The source of labor and extractive wealth is different. The establishment of, again, racial difference, that very need for the colonizer to recreate itself by recreating the colonized, that kind of thing, very different. With some similarities, but ultimately different. And then, but I think my real issue with the comparison is that look at what Jews have had to do collectively, institutionally, to quote unquote overcome historical oppression to the extent that they have. They have had to align themselves with the state. I always think it's funny at how many of these Christmas songs have been written by Jews, as Jews have sought to acculturate themselves. When people talk about Jews being sneaky by changing names and sort of insinuating themselves into white society, it's less about being sneaky. It's more about their sense of wanting to survive, having experienced all the hostility in Europe all those years. So I think what Jews have done is actually logical, given their history, their racialization, their nationalism, their understanding of religion and race, etc. Their behavior has been quite logical. I just don't think it's best suited for an advancing humanity, and it doesn't work in terms of being replicated by black people. So black people cannot insinuate themselves into whiteness in the same way. Nor would I want to advocate that to the extent that black people try. I don't advocate that. Jews have had to accept, again, my favorite paper on this history of Zionism by Annie Zirin, that I've referenced and linked and discussed over and over and over again. My favorite point that she reminds us is that Europeans supported the establishment of Israel specifically to get rid of as many radical Jews and socialist Jews from Europe as possible, and to use Israel as a beachhead of Western imperialism. I don't advocate that for black people. I would not advocate that black people form themselves into a beachhead of Western imperialism in some arrangement, in some sort of deal to get the boot off of their necks a little bit. So my point is, what Jews have been forced or encouraged or chosen to do, I don't advocate. I don't want Black people to assimilate into this and help perpetuate this. So that's I think as simple as I can put it, and maybe but really, I think the real issue is that more than my own opinions or analysis or conclusions, is that Black people cannot, whatever I think or you or any of us think, Black people cannot do what Jews have done, will not be permitted to do, don't have the historical arrangement and ability to do, not ability by capability, but ability in terms of relationship to power, to each other, and so on and so on. The relationships are just very different. So that's essentially what it is. What it is. All right, one more very easy one, and something that came out because I just published or posted to our channel an old presentation I did for the Black is Back Coalition some years ago, and on colonialism and propaganda. And so I appreciate Phil Winter saying that I will be sharing this once a week, every Monday. Twitter and Facebook even wrote it on my physical calendar above this PC monitor. I'll definitely share this again tomorrow. When has Dr. Ball not been on point? I love that. Obviously, I love that. Appreciate you, Phil. And thank you for the compliment, and appreciate you supporting the channel and sharing the work. All right, that's it. Oh, appreciate you. I might, at most, I might do some timestamps. I don't see all the editing happening in terms of breaking up this video into talking points. I think at most we might get some timestamps. So sorry about that, but I appreciate the encouragement. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I want the channel to grow. I would love to be able to hire more editors so that we could do that kind of stuff. I don't have the time. Yeah, Annie Zirin, Dave Zirin's sister, actually, though I don't like to reduce her to just being that. I think she's, no disrespect to Dave, I think she's his intellectual, I don't like the word superior, intellectual better. Zirin, and I'll try to find it and put it in the show description again. But if you just Google Annie Zirin and Zionism, in fact, I'll try it right now real quick. The paper should come up. It's fantastic. I think this is it. Is this it? She's written a number of things related to this subject. No, this isn't it. All right, maybe I'm not going to find it that fast. Maybe it's not that easy. It's so okay. I got it. I found it. Here we go. Oh, it's been taken away. The link is gone. Oh, the hidden history of Zionism. Let me see if I can. The hidden history of Zionism by Annie Zirin. Oh no! So somebody wrote a book of the same title. Oh no! No! Did they take it? They wouldn't have taken it down. Dang. Anyway, well, that was the title of the joint. Oh man, what? I don't see it. Did they really scrub it? Anyway, sorry, y'all. That's the title, though. The Hidden History of Zionism by Annie Zirin. Yeah, it does. It does, because I've been referring to it for years. It was up for years. It was on a socialist website. Oh, y'all hating on this jump shot? That's messed up. Stop messing with the ear doctor. Anyway, appreciate you all for coming through. And please do let's get another round, another batch of comments and criticism. Even admit when I don't like some of what is said. I do appreciate it. I on some level appreciate it. And I like being able to respond to it. And I honestly like honoring the commitment to the channel by being able to offer up some response from those of us on the channel, at least here a little bit. And I know others will continue. We'll try to do more as we go forward. So please continue to do all the things, like all the things, you know what to do. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with the crew, with Diallo and Geechee and some special guests. So please come on back tomorrow morning and every day. Thanks again, everybody. Stay tuned for whatever's coming next. I don't even know. Stuff is popping up on the channel all the time. So it's sometimes a surprise and exciting. So make sure you got the bell and everything linked, clicked, and all that good stuff. And as Fred Hampton used to say to you, we say peace only if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody. Thanks again. Catch you next time. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.